Hello, this is Steve from Vuitton Leatherworks, and today's project is this LV bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the piping all the way around. This piece right here, all the way around on both sides. And once we got it apart, we're going to maybe kind of condition the leather. And it's not in too bad shape. I mean, you know, it does get used, and it is a little bit dry, so we'll condition it up and then we'll reassemble it. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so we've got to remove the lining in order to turn the bag inside out. That's how it's done. Some people cringe at me putting a knife to an LV bag like this. Don't worry. That'll be okay once it's finished. You know, lately I've been talking to you guys about comments I get on the videos. You know, I tend to joke a lot. Some people think that I'm serious. When I'm serious, I don't usually bring up the topic that that I want to talk about. But it's all kind-hearted comments that I make about the comments. Or somebody got upset at me because I used our Lord and Savior's name. Sorry, it wasn't meant like that. I didn't curse it, but I guess just the fact that I said it triggered somebody. And it wasn't intentional, okay? So don't turn off my video. It's okay, it happens sometimes. If you're a good Christian, you should forgive and forget, right? Isn't that what they say? Or turn the other cheek? Again, it's all in fun that I make comments like that, alright? Alright. Now once this lining is apart, we're going to clean the stitches. These, basically, see these stitches like that? We're going to clean everything up. So we can restitch it in the same holes that we took it apart. Now the only way to get to the piping is basically turn the bag inside out. You can't repair it without doing it like that, unfortunately. That's like halfway through the assembly line of making the bag, you know. So you've got to kind of disassemble it to get to that stage. So it's not possible to do it any other way. Alright, a little bit longer. Boy, they got this sucker stitched in there, don't they? Alright, so now before we remove the lining, we've got to make sure see how basically the zipper is closing this way. So we're going to put an arrow right here so we know which direction to put the zipper back. like that, okay? Because once it comes apart, if you don't have any, you know, if you don't have any guidelines how you took it apart, you're gonna have a hard time putting it back. Also, again, with the lining, right? Which way does the lining go? Does it go in this way? Does it go in that way? So basically, what we're gonna do, along with the arrow, okay, we're gonna put an X. Okay, we'll put an X on this side. So now we know that the lining goes in. You know, mark the X's, and then you know which way the zipper is going. There's your lining right there. So we'll put that aside. We'll come back to that later once everything gets done. Now, turn this bag inside out. I'm not going to really do damage to it, but just, you know, tend to be careful. Oh, there's the piping right there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to take a picture. That's it. All right, let's continue. I almost forgot. I took a couple of pictures, just 2 pictures, that's all. All right, we have the bag inside out. Now, whenever you have panels, this panel, side panel, stitched together, right? When you unstitch this piece, which we're going to have to do because the piping is in between them. So before, there's a lot of thread here, unnecessary thread. Before you take it apart, you got to put some guidelines of where things line up, okay? So if you don't do that, when you go to restitch everything, you don't want this panel to be twisted out of shape so nothing matches when you turn it outside in. So basically just little guidelines like this. See those 2 marks? Okay, they're not lining up, but you get the idea. They're lining up. So once we take it apart, when we replace the piping, we can basically line the guidelines together and everything will be just fine once it's finished. Now you can do as many as you want, right? You can do a couple, you can do 10, you can do 50, doesn't matter. As long as you got them lined up when you're restitching it back together. Cool. All right, let's continue. Now this bag was made in the US. Not all Louis Vuittons are made in France. There's a company in the US that licensed these bags and made them here. I mean, where, I don't know exactly. Here's the piping, by the way. I don't know where exactly, but I'll have to do more research to find out where it was made. But it just says USA on it. As you guys can see, you know, taking things apart. I love taking things apart. As a kid, I used to take things apart. I mean, I couldn't put them back together, but that's how I learned. I would disassemble things. I mean, not just bags, but stereos and headsets and walkie-talkies. I would be fascinated how it was made, you know. But the problem was I didn't think that far ahead that I'd have to put it back together. Luckily, it wasn't really, you know, it was broken things. It wasn't working. Could you imagine me taking something apart that it's in great shape as a kid? You know, back in the 80s, you know. Oh my God, back in the 80s, it seems like was decades ago. Well, I guess it was decades ago. Cut that access off. That's not. I don't know why in the world they left it that long. All right. So this is basically what's getting replaced. Okay. We're going to replace the leather piece and also the little plastic piece inside. See that little piece there? All right. The deconstruction is done. Now I get to clean the thread all the way around and clean up the leather while I have it apart, and then we'll go ahead and cut some new leather pieces and reassemble. Let's continue. So this is the vachetta leather, or belting leather, natural belting leather. Now I think one strand, one piece should be enough. Let's see. Yeah, plenty enough. So basically I'm going to cut a small piece out, and I'm going to skive it. Skiving means thinning it out, just thinning it, because this is a little bit too thick for to fold it over. Okay. I'll show you guys how I do that. I use my bell skiver. Now the color is not too bad, but you know what? It's not the same. It's not going to be. One is new leather, one is old leather. Okay? So if you see, now if you look here, see the edges where it's new? It's a lot lighter, these little fringe areas, right? But the rest of it, when it gets used, it takes a different hue. Okay? So once we skive it, we're going to see if we can tint this down to match that. Now, you're not going to see too much of it, right? You're going to see that little bit of a thin line right there. Okay? But still, you want that color to be a little bit closer than what you got now. Okay? All right, let's continue. Alright, so this is my skiver. It's called a bell skiver. See that right there? That is a blade, basically. It's a circular blade. And we skive leather, make leather thinner. So this is the piece that we cut out, okay? Now this is too thick, okay? So we're going to have to thin this out. So, perfect. It's about half the thickness. See what it's doing? See that piece underneath there? Here, let me show you real quick. Right there? That's the other half of the leather. Now I got to be careful because that blade is very sharp. So basically it's taking the leather piece and it's doing one of these numbers, okay? And there's the bottom piece. There's the top piece. That should be good. So when you want the leather to fold over very comfortably, right? You don't want to stress it and it might crack right there. So that's pretty good. I think once the piping comes inside, the little piece comes inside, it'll look much nicer. All right, let's continue. Now, I tinted the color down just a little bit. You guys see the difference? You know, it's not too bad. I mean, they really need a little bit of it. That's it. It's not too much. And basically, this is a shoe cream. Now, it really depends on the tone of the leather. Sometimes I've used dyes, sometimes oil dyes, sometimes acrylic dyes, tinted it down a little bit, watered it down, so it's not so heavy. And sometimes I use creams. Believe it or not, even just a little bit of this will darken the tone just a little bit to kind of blend it in with the natural color. Now we're going to let this dry, and we're going to come back and buff it and see what it looks like. We might need to do just one more and add maybe add a little bit of oils from our skin, just to kind of rub the leather to darken it a little bit, just so it'll kind of blend in with the existing leathers on the purse. Now, and remember, this is not, you're not going to see all of this. You're going to see just a little bit. You know, it's going to be like that, so it's not too bad. All right, let's continue. All right, so some of you guys may know this already, who've been kind of watching my videos do Louis Vuitton repairs and restorations. Inside the piping, I have a weed whacker line. Yes, it's for cutting weeds. That's why it's called a weed whacker. Now, in the past, I've used a lot of things, right? And this is about the only one that I've come across that I felt comfortable putting inside the piping, you know. And now these come in different thicknesses, okay? So you got to be careful. I mean, I know some of you guys most of you guys are viewers. You're not going to actually do this type of work, but you know, I'm just kind of talking in general. And I've got some guys, some friends of mine who watch this, who are in the business and who do, you know, who do learn a few things or two when they're watching it. So you got to be careful. Depending on the job itself, some pipings are thicker than others. This is a little bit thicker than what came in the purse, but I think that'll be fine once it gets done. So basically, we're going to glue this in there, and once it gets done, man, it's going to look really nice. All right. I gotta get the phone. All right. Good afternoon, Vuitton Leatherworks. Can I help you? Let's continue. All right, we're back. So now we get to sew the piping on one side of the bag, this side right here. So around the corner here, around the corners here, I cut the leather like that just so it'll kind of relax a little bit, as it's relief cuts is what we call that, I think. Okay. And the bottom thread is a dark color thread. Okay. So what happens is when you go to stitch this side on here, and then you're going to flip this around, follow that stitch from the back when you're stitching the other panel. This way you're right on the money when it comes to having it right on the edge of the piping. Now, there are piping feet, and I do have some. Piping feet is basically, hang on, let me show you. This is a piping foot. You see how it's curved? Because the piping sits, when it's on the machine like this, piping sits right in that little groove right there. Okay? Guess I was just too lazy to change the foot. It's just one screw. But I like this one better. This is not a piping foot, but I get a better, I like it better. I'm more comfortable using this one. than I am with the piping clip. I want to make sure that we start on the right, exactly the right spot. The camera's in my way, my reverse button. Alright, let me try it. Okay. As I'm stitching it, I'm looking at the bottom original stitches right there, making sure I'm following that guideline. Something is not right. Just doesn't feel right. There we go. You've been doing it for so many years, you know, even you can feel the machine not doing some, you know, it's doing something that's not supposed to. You know, you can kind of sense it. Again. Alright, let's continue. So now we turn the bag around to stitch the other panel here with the side panel. Now, okay, you can see that, you can see the black thread, right? Okay. So all I got to do now is follow that. I'm trying to see if I can get a lighting better here. All I have to do now is just follow that black stitch right there all the way around. Okay. Make sure our guidelines, remember our guidelines we put, you know, when we were taking the bag apart, little areas right there, make sure those are lined up with the rest of them. Sometimes when the lines don't line up exactly, you can kind of push and pull the top or bottom material as you're stitching it to bring them together, because sometimes things do stretch as you're stitching them. That's why we put those guidelines there. Make sure that we put them back in the spot that was taken apart. So far so good. Hold on, let me put my reverse button here. Alright, that's that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to heat this up a little bit, the vinyl coating or the cloth coating, and then so I can turn it back right side out and make sure, inspect all the seams and make sure everything's good. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so now we get to put the zipper on. Remember we had the mark on there before, which way the zipper went? Closing this way. I put some glue on the zipper and the bag. Oh, the piping turned out pretty good actually. Not too bad. A little bit lighter, you see that? I'll touch that up, see if I can blend that in a little better. It looks better in person than it does on camera, believe it or not. It blends in a little better than what I'm looking at now. I'll touch that up a little bit more. Believe it or not, with the hand oils and the dirt, you know, it definitely darkens it, gives it that little patina. But we'll hurry that process and we'll put some creams on it and some other oils on it, conditioners, to darken that up a little bit. I mean, it's old leather compared to new leather. It's not going to be 100% same. We know that ahead of time. It's close, but it's not 100%. So now here is just a matter of lining everything up. Then once the zipper glued in, you put the lining in also, and you stitch it, and then you're done. And then it's coffee time. Yeah, no hammering going on now because that was yesterday. My employee was on the other side hammering away. I noticed that after I watched the video a little bit. I was editing and I noticed that there was a lot of hammer noise in the background. That's what that was about. Not too much hammering in this video. Sorry. Next time. Alright, so we're almost done with another project. This was $460, I believe. $460 for this job. Gotta make sure you glue the zipper on straight, or else you're gonna stitch it crooked because you glued it on crooked. Right? Right. I like working on these bags. A lot of people are intimidated by these bags. I mean, working on them anyway. You just have to, you know, practice. Yes, you're going to screw up now and then, but, you know, that's part of the game. It's okay. Well, don't screw up on the customer's bag. Go buy a bag, like maybe a knockoff or something, and practice at it. So if you screw that up, it's okay. But don't screw up a customer's bag. That's a no-no. We don't want to do that. I mean, have I screwed up a customer's bag in the past? I'm sure. Not intentionally, but you know, always try to make it right. Okay. Line that up with the zipper. Now that was a the machine I was using was a tabletop machine. And the one I'm going to use for this one is going to be a post machine. You know, I didn't put any glue on this stuff. It wouldn't stick. Jeez, man. Oh Lord. I'm like, what in the world is not stitching? I mean, it's not gluing. Kept pressing it on there and it wouldn't stay put. This is a Masters all-purpose cement. Works pretty good on these types of jobs. It's pretty quick drying. You don't have to use a lot, just a little bit to keep it in place. And also, after it dries, it stitches pretty good. The needle doesn't have any glue residue on there, basically, right? When you're stitching it. Because when the needle has some glue on it, then the thread doesn't advance it. The thread gets stuck and it starts acting up, which we don't want to do. Alright, I'll be back and show you guys while we're stitching it. Alright, let's continue. Alrighty, this is my post machine. And we just want to make sure that we go in the same holes. Because this is what's visible, right? This is what the customer sees. Now in the lining and underneath on the inside where we're stitching the piping, nothing's visible from the exterior. So that's not that important to hit the same holes of that, but something like this, yeah, definitely you want to make sure that you're getting in the same holes. Once I come around this corner, it'll be a little bit easier. I'm just kind of gauging the size of the stitch, make sure we have that right. I know the camera's shaking a lot, like my hands. lining is in there also. Alright, so I just put the camera on the tripod so it wouldn't shake so much, because that light was right in the way of that stitching. I mean, not for me, but for you guys to view. You want to make sure that you're taking your time, right? So you don't want to miss a hole like that. I hit the camera again. It's not easy not to hit the camera because it's right there, you know, and either it's in the way of my machine or my feet or whatever. So it happens sometimes. At least I'm the only one shaking now. That was a joke. That was funny. You know, haha, funny. Come on, it wasn't funny? You guys have no sense of humor, man. Alright. Camera's gonna move again. Let me do it from here, so it doesn't disrupt you guys. Does that look alright? Not too bad. At least I'm in a frame. Alright, enough of that. We'll continue. Let's continue. Alright, so I decided to take a little bit of a coffee break. Yeah, you know, my hands don't shake enough. I need a little more shaking going on. I mean, does it really shake that bad? Yeah, sometimes. Alright, I want to talk to you guys about something. So, this is not 100% set as far as the design is concerned. I'm very close to it. I like it. My 14-year-old designed it for me, right? And I'm getting really, really excited about it. I think more excited than you guys are. So this is what I came up with. All right, come on now. So what do you guys think? This is for the shirts. I mean, I know I got rid of my beard, right? But I can grow it back. It's not a big deal. It'll kind of semi match that. Maybe my hairline is a little bit lower in the picture. Boy, sure is, huh? Well, that's the younger version of me. It's okay. So anyway, so I figured maybe like white and black for the starter with, you know, and then have Vuitton's Leatherworks in the back, you know, and maybe print a couple of them out, see what it looks like, and I'll show you guys. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you like it, you don't like it, ideas, something, you know? So anyway, all right, so we're done with another project. I mean, it turned out pretty good, actually. Not too bad. Much better than what it was before, obviously. Now, the color is not bad either, right? It's kind of blended in. I think from a distance, you know, you're looking at it, you can't really tell it's a different color. You know, it's very close to it. This bag is, let's see if I can pronounce that. Retiro, Retiropm bag, right? And overall, it's not in bad shape. Condition the leather trim throughout the bag. Had some white scuff marks on the material, the fabric part here. So if you have those are friction marks, right? So you can use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and just kind of wipe on it, and it should come off. Okay, it's not going to damage anything here. But if the friction marks on the leather, well, if you wipe on that, it might get dark. So you got to be careful with that. Only if it's on the fabric part of the bag, if it's got the scuff marks, then you can remove those with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. All right. Well, thank you again for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions about a specific job, please email me, betos@yahoo.com, and share as much as you like. We appreciate it. It's a wonderful thing that the viewers or the subscribers have grown so much, and I really appreciate it. And along the way, I'm learning how this works. So you know, I'll get better over time. Maybe not with the filming or anything, but maybe with my attitude as far as, I don't know, as far as reading the comments. I joke a lot, you know. I know it doesn't come across that way, but when I'm reading comments and making expressions, those are all good-hearted stuff, you know. It doesn't. There's no bad friction behind that. Okay. All right. Let's continue. We'll see you again.